This episode of the Kill by Kill podcast is brought to you in part by Dangerous Game, starring John Voight and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. Dangerous Game is a nail-bitingly suspenseful thriller that's now streaming on Redbox. A family reunion at a remote mansion takes a lethal turn when those trapped inside are then forced to play a deadly game of survival where only one will make it out alive. Stream Dangerous Game instantly on Redbox On Demand today. It's rated R from Paramount Pictures. And now we've got a game for you. That's right, you can watch a brand new movie on us just by emailing killbykillpod@gmail.com. That's killbykillpod@gmail.com with Dangerous Game in the subject line. Alrighty, folks, come and get your own copy of Dangerous Game on us. Just email us at killbykillpod@gmail.com. And now the body count continues. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and ghouls, dying time is here. That's right, we're talking about They're Creeping Up on You from Creepshow on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from the bright lights and big city of New York, or at least one apartment in it. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And we're going to unpack all the goriest of details of the fifth segment in Creepshow. They're creeping up on you in the hopes that a capitalist's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes that we can make at his expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust, that if the power goes out, she will crawl out of the elevator just to help me get away from all those bugs. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm sorry, Patrick. I love you, but you're on your own in this situation.
You are letting me get at by all those bugs. You won't.
I think I'm good. I will take whatever message you want me to take to Becky. I will sit down with Ollie and tell him you were a real hero. But as soon as that torrent of bugs starts pouring out, see you, man. You know, it's been real.
Your Audi 5000.
Yes.
That's not something you can handle.
No.
All right. Good to know. I'm going to make a note of that in the Kill by Kill bylaws. Will not help with bugs. You didn't have that problem with slugs. You said you would help me with slugs. Slugs move very slowly, whereas roaches do not. They have very big teeth.
They do, but
what if I'm driven by a slug to chop my own hand off? What happens then, Gina?
I think I could be more easily overwhelmed by a swarm of cockroaches.
That's very, very true. All right. Well, Gina, I don't want to scare you, but we are not alone in this bug-ridden hell we've created for ourselves. No. Well, that's right. We got a special guest, and you know her. Of course, she's a writer. She's a digital guru. And, of course, you know her from her own podcast, Waiting to Excel. And of course, she's a wonderful and delightful returning champion here to Kill by Kill, the one, the only Wynter Mitchell. How are you doing today, Wynter?
Oh, I missed you guys. I'm so glad we can be here. I love you guys. I know we see each other every day on our block on Twitter, but it's nothing like having your beautiful voices in my ear. I love it. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
And having me back.
I'm so glad you could join us for this adventure. An adventure that I gave you a couple things to choose from. You immediately went for They're Creeping Up on You.
Oh, yeah.
So...
Oh, yeah.
So I got the feeling that you have a take on this bad boy. So
I do.
So let's get into it. When was the first time you ever saw Creepshow?
I saw Creepshow when I was maybe like 4, and it was, again, most of the horror films that I
4. We need a time out. Time out. Wynter. Yes. You are 4 years old and you are seeing Creepshow.
Yeah. You're gonna laugh when you find out who exposed me to it. It was the person who exposed me. I want to tell you something about, and I do this a lot on podcasts when I talk about my grandparents and my great grandparents. Sure. You have to understand, they did not grow up with television in the sense that, like, they called it an idiot box, right? So then once it sort of unfurled itself over the course of their senior citizen ages, it was just like, it became one of those things where it was just at you and it was just on, right? Okay. And they're also the type of people that felt like when kids go to bed, they're in bed. But what would often happen is that when I would spend the night at my grandparents' house with my grandmother, my nana, my grandpa, I would wake up. Children have a tendency to wake up. Sure. And I would open my eyes, and because we would sleep in the den / TV room, and my grandparents in the kitchen off to the side, my grandparents would be watching all sorts of shit. They always watch scary movies at night. So I learned how to stay up and fake sleep, but to sort of keep my eye open to see what was on. Uh-huh. And one night it was Night of the Living Dead, and then Return of the Living Dead, and then it was one night it was Creepshow, and I was just like enthralled. And it was absolutely the scene that we will of course discuss when the apartment is flooded with pests, infested. Yes. But I was like, what the hell is this? And you know why they liked the movie, they like this particular segment is because of E.G. Marshall. They remember him when he was young, so that they always watched stuff when people who they grew up with, got into their golden years and started doing crazy shit.
They were fans. They weren't fair weather. They dedicated to E.G. Marshall. What better person to be dedicated to? Is like, I remember when he was on the young ones, the new doctors. Exactly. Whatever the fuck that was called. I think it was the bold ones, the new doctors. That is the wildest fucking name for a television show. Like, think of how they would expand like Law and Order these days, but it's called the bold ones. And they're like, I don't know, what's a new bold one? A new doctor? I guess.
Could this be our oldest reference yet on this show? Were any of us even born when that was? Were any of us even alive when that show was on?
No.
I only know it because I was going through all of those old ABC promos for a job I am not allowed to talk about, but going through and trying to piece together like who was in those promos and what they were promoting. And it goes back to like 68, some of them. And you're like, what the fuck is this on television? They would just throw anything up there. Anything.
I'm serious. We're not exaggerating. Anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That like late 70s era where like they try to make 3 different shows about Las Vegas showgirls. That's like yeah. It's very much 100%. We'll just keep trying to make the same show for like 3 seasons.
It'll work it out. It'll work itself out.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. People love Las Vegas, and eventually we will figure this out. It can't all be sexy coroners who try to rail against young punks and the drugs they take.
Are we talking about Quincy?
Yes.
Of course we're talking about Quincy.
For our Patreon, we did an entire episode on that Quincy episode where he's like, punks, what's going on with them? And then like, someone murders somebody on the dance floor.
Why listen to music that makes you hate when you can listen to music that makes you love?
It's like, well, your music fucking sucks, my dude. Like, there's good music out there. You're just not listening to it. And then they end up dancing at the HMS Bounty in Koreatown. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, why do I know this? Why do I fucking know this? Anyways, I used to get very drunk at the HMS Bounty.
Yes.
So that is great because fantasize about having very permissive parents because I absolutely didn't. I mean, it made me very weird, and I ended up turning to that same idiot box, and that's why I know dumb shit like the bold ones, the new doctors, because I didn't have competing influences, I suppose.
Oh no, I had the worst competing. I think not the worst. I mean, obviously, I miss them so much. But you're talking about people who were born in 1909, my great grandparents, and then 1930. Wow. 1929, 30. So I'm not living with them, but I'm spending my weekends with them. My parents would push us off over there, which we, there are grandparents that we would see them. But you have to, the reason I'm at 42 years old know so much about the golden age of television and Hollywood is because you had to, I was just telling my husband how every Labor Day, the Jerry Lewis telethon, there was nothing else on. There was nothing. Right. I don't care what you were doing on Labor Day weekend, NBC, ABC, CBS. We were watching this telethon the entire way through until he has his annual meltdown by Sunday around 4:00.
When he's just like drunk and crying and just like
crying.
With like the ciggy smoldering in one hand while he's talking. Yeah.
Yes. His tie is undone, his shirt is sweaty, his hair is greasy, and he's yelled at the tote board person multiple times.
We're live on the air. We gotta do this right.
We gotta do this right. You're not gonna put a 9 when it's a 10. You're not gonna put a 9 when it's a 10. God damn it!
I beg you. You gotta put some money up on this board. Oh God. The thing is, I can see it in my head, Wynter. Like it immediately flashes to that very 4x3 sweat-drenched, greasy mode on a Sunday afternoon. He's like, this is a mistake and I'm never doing this again. Never
doing this. And I always would get so upset because the thing is, once you get old enough, you start going, well, where's Lou Rawls? Where does he come? Right. No, because Lou Rawls was my signal. This is almost the fuck over.
Right.
And I want this to be done. So if Lou Rawls shows up, then we're almost there. We've almost got all the money for MDA. We're good. And it's just.
And then it's over. Then we've solved it, everyone. We've done
solved it.
We cured it, everyone.
Oh my God.
We finally collected 34 grand. We're probably going to put a huge dent in this.
Yeah, after Jerry takes his cut and gets his new Lincoln Town car, a little bit left over.
Yes, exactly.
They pay for the studio.
Estate. Yep.
Yeah, they collect the glass bowl of cocaine from the green room.
Exactly.
It's helped people disco dance, and Lou Rawls finally finds a microphone and
finds a mic.
You'll never find. Bum, 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 bum.
We watched it, and we watched Best of, which was an hour and a half of Best of, and Sammy Davis Jr.'s heels were so high.
Oh, he was such a tiny man.
Like 4 inches easy. And he still wasn't even meeting Jerry at eye level. And it was just, there's one point where, and then Jerry does the thing where he goes into the audience and starts just harassing people and haranguing people. Like, it's just,
shaking them down like a mafia collector.
Shaking them down. Just angrily looking at the stare. And then he'd do that thing where he'd stare at the camera like he was going to literally come into your house and kill you at some point.
He pulls that car dealership thing. He's like, what do I got to do to help you, donate $100 to me? You can fit so many sick kids in this car. Bang! Oh man! I tell you.
Oh God!
Here's the thing: we used to do between 4 and 7 episodes talking about a Friday the 13th. And, you know, back then when we had a 2-digit day, we were through the roof, right?
Right.
We didn't worry about overstaying our welcome because we barely had a welcome to start with. But now, you know, we're kind of out of practice doing 5 episodes on one movie. And it does drive you slightly stir crazy, just a little wee bit. Especially when you end, you know, like when we talked about the crate, there's so much to talk about. But when you talk about they're creeping up on you, this is you're ooging and ogging at the bugs coming out. And it takes like the bugs appear in the first frame. And at the end, he's just drowned in a sea of bugs. That's it, everyone. Wynter, where can people find you?
Thanks, guys. Great show.
Great show. Great catching up.
Good night, everyone.
Super fun.
Hi, everybody. Listen, I feel like this is one of those segments in an incredible. I love Creepshow. I love the Creepshow film, and I feel like it's one of the few anthology films that really just gets it right. I know people have their favorites. I know people don't love certain segments as much as the others. I'm not a huge Crate fan, even though I love Adrienne Barbeau. I think the reason I love this segment is because it definitely has like sort of, it really spoke to me during COVID. It spoke to me because you start becoming him when you're trapped inside, and then everything that you kind of casually glance at on a day-to-day basis. I mean, when you're at home, you know, before COVID, you're home what? If you're working a full day and, you know, you're in and out of the house, you're home what? Like up and awake like 6-7 hours, maybe? And then you go to bed and then you get up and you kind of do thinking, you know, you putz around the house on the weekends, whatever. You try to fill your life up. But when you're inside for 24 hours, and you start acting like Mr. Pratt. You really do. I started being like, oh my God, this is insane. And who lives like that? We live like this. So I'm gonna go, you know, like you start being so obsessive about everything that you often become a planet unto yourself, even if you live amongst others. And I just found it, you know, I know people that live, I don't know them personally, but I know that there are people that live like this. And I know that this is their mindset as well. And I thought about those people during COVID, like you literally can't leave. If technically some of these people are probably assholes and left anyway, but for the people who are really like housebound, did not want to go outside or refuse to, at what point did you get to this, you know, to this point where you were like ups and Pratt? Like at what point did it start creeping up on you? Because it took us a good 6 or 7 months before COVID really started messing with my brain.
Well, I mean, I'm a little skewed, so my story will be very short because I've been working from home literally for a decade and a half. Oh. So Becky and I have, we've always like, even before we had Oliver, it was like, oh, maybe I'll go to a coffee shop today or whatever. But we're always at home and we're always working together. But we had found outlets where like, it's not this, my office isn't working for me today. I'll go to the living room. The house isn't working for me, so I'll go somewhere else. Under those circumstances, we didn't have anywhere to go. And then there were 3 months where we didn't have any work. And then we started to do projects, and then we found a cooking program where twice a week we would make dishes online with people who were at a cooking store, and that became our big act. That would be our date night. Was sitting on a kitchen counter making salmon with orange oil and shit like that. And listen, we did perfectly fine. And honestly, like with the exception of millions of people dying, I think it actually allowed us to have a lot more time with our dog who would soon pass and with our kid who's going to be grown up here very soon. So in that circumstance, I didn't truly go bug shit in that way. It was different for me just because of my circumstances. But Gina, you were in the direct hot zone of New York City, and I think your circumstances were slightly different.
Yeah, I did not work from home at that point. I do now because of reasons not related to COVID. Well, indirectly, but neither here nor there. You know what? The main thing that I say that honestly saved my sanity was I played a shitload of Animal Crossing.
That's right. Yeah, I remember.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, I had actually no intention of, I'd never played Animal Crossing before in my life. I am not a quote unquote gamer. But as soon as the shit started going down, I was like, you know what? I think I'll get one of those Nintendo Switches the kids are all talking about. And, which I don't even have that. I have the cheaper one, the one that can't be converted to use on a television, but the DS Lite. And I played Animal Crossing, and it has remained the only game I've ever played on that thing. $250, handheld gaming device. I have one game for it. But I played that every day. That it saved my sanity because I didn't mind being stuck in my house with my family. It was actually pretty nice. We all got along just fine. But I also spent an inordinately large amount of time doom scrolling on Twitter, which would occasionally literally cause me to vomit from anxiety. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see where if I was alone in my house, I could see kind of going a little, Upton Pratt and going crazy and becoming like a germaphobe and just a generally unpleasant person to deal with.
So I guess the other thing that we need to consider here, outside of the hermetic place that Upton Pratt, seals himself off into, but the other thing is what is your deal with bugs? Like, what is your bug tolerance? Because I think that's another thing of how this particular segment affects you. Like, I'm not a tremendous fan, but once upon a time, I worked at a theme park and they had a Halloween event. And part of that Halloween event was putting people in a glass coffin with cockroaches.
Get the hell out of here.
No.
They had a whole show, the Fear Factor thing. And as part of Halloween Horror Nights, people would be in this modified glass coffin in which bugs would be poured on them, or at least a portion of them. The vast majority of them would actually be sealed off. It was more of an illusion than anything else. But I was like, you know what? I don't love bugs. I'm fine seeing bugs. It's when bugs are in my space that I freak out. So I can watch these bugs and I'm not particularly thrilled. But if I see a bug, if I saw a mass of cockroaches like what's in this movie, it would be like my skeleton would jump out of my throat and do a little dance and then just bury itself in a gravesite.
I mean, they're disgusting. They're disgusting. And the thing is, we don't know. We're on, Gina, you're in New York, so that's different.
Yes.
But in Los Angeles, a cockroach is a sign of deep filth. In the South, it's like they fly. And that's why I don't like being there. And I'd never seen a cockroach in my life until I moved to Los Angeles. And I lived in an apartment in Hollywood that was $750 a month when I moved in. It was the best deal I could get. It was a 1-bedroom, which was insane. I kept saying, what a deal. What a bargain. And now I know why it was a bargain, because it was literally sitting on a nest of cockroaches. And not just little, there's roaches and then there's cockroaches. And roaches are little bugs, which are gross as well. But cockroaches have wings and are big and show up and do gross shit and skitter and scatter around. And I cried so hard when I saw the first one in this apartment that I was beside myself for at least a week because it is just, it's so freaking disgusting. It's disgusting. So to point for Mr. Pratt, he's right. What the hell in my hermetically sealed penthouse is a cockroach, this filthy beast doing in my abode? And I felt the same exact way.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. As you said, they are automatically associated with dirt. It's like the green-headed flies. That's like, whenever you see it, was like, okay, there's something rotting around in the area that these flies are here. With roaches, it's like, okay, there's some sort of filth here. Is my house dirty? It doesn't look dirty. And again, going back to 2020, a little problem that people who chose to, not that a lot of us chose, some of us had to stay in the city, had to deal with in apartment buildings, was because people weren't using, not as much people were using water. They would come in through the pipes. So we would we would have those giant flying ones in our house. And as you said, Wynter, there was a night where I locked myself in the bathroom and I refused to come out. and I just sat there with my feet up on the toilet, just sobbing, like you said, and I would not come out until someone else in the house eliminated them for me. And I'm just like, no, I will stay in here all night if I have to. And it just has, again, it's the idea of they carry disease. And what does this say for my housekeeping skills that they're in here? And everybody's like, oh well, if you see one, there's dozens more hiding. Yes, and it's like, Gina. Thank you, Gina. Thank you for putting that image in my head that whenever I open a cabinet door or a closet or something like that, they're just going to come streaming out, and it's just like, yeah. So no, I don't like this. I don't like this one. It just like
It's that episode of Friends where they find grandma's packets of Sweet and Low, only it's bugs all over you.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like, no. This is my least favorite segment of the movie.
Yeah. Because I think it's weirdly effective just by overdose. Like you're just getting so much of it. And it should be, let's be slightly educational here for a second. So the whole idea behind this is that, they have this, Steve King writes this, short story, and they go, well, if we're going to have to find bugs, where do we find bugs? So they contact a bug department. Department of Etymology, and they're like, we need to fill this space with a bunch of cockroaches, and they're like, oh yeah, we can do that for this much. And like, well, how are you going to do that? And like, don't worry, we're going to be back in 4 weeks with plenty. And they go off, and apparently cockroaches breed by the millions in bat guano.
No. So are you kidding me? This is outrageous.
It gets worse. So these two guys, they put rubber bands on their pants, and then they go into this bat guano. Okay, so on top of the cockroaches, they're also, waist deep in bat shit. Quite literally. God. They would dig a hole, and the cockroaches would just fill it up, and they'd just take the bucket and fill up the cockroaches and put it into a box. And they filmed the sequence of it just because they sent a camera down there, and the floor was moving. They said they could lie down and just move across the cave, not by any of their own power. There were so many cockroaches, they would just move underneath them.
Absolutely not.
So
absolutely not. Absolutely not. And how did they even know that was a thing? Disgusting.
I don't know. It takes a certain breed to become a bug doctor. So these two bug doctors come back to the United States. They start breeding these cockroaches, which again sounds like a terrible fucking idea. but it's apparently very easy to do so long as you have your hands on some shit. And so they breed all these cockroaches. And I guess what they learned is it didn't matter how many cockroaches they used in any particular scene. If they had isolated it off, the guys were like, no matter what you do, if we build a plexiglass cage around it and put Vaseline at the top, the cockroaches will not be able to make it past the Vaseline. So the first test of this is they have that computer that they're going to, and phone, they're going to put it in a plexiglass box, film it from the outside, and fill it halfway with cockroaches. So they know, all right, 200 cockroaches are going into this box. Pour. Film the scene. Okay, let's collect the cockroaches. And they collect 100. 100 of those fucking cockroaches disappeared. Every single time they do this, half of the cockroaches find a way. They find a way. Like all female dinosaurs who just want to fuck. They find a way past all their barriers. And so over the course of this filming, they just lose a whole bunch of cockroaches, but not to worry because the cockroaches are constantly fucking, or whatever cockroaches do, and they repopulate it. So that's why you have a grand variance of cockroaches in this movie, because some are have just hatched and others are old men who are like, I once got very close to getting past the Vaseline. So
no, they're like, I met E.G. Marshall once. I met E.G. Marshall.
Y'all
film with E.G. Marshall.
Y'all ever see the New Doctors? Knew that guy.
It was an expansion of the Bold Ones. You know the Bold Ones. Not the lawyer show, the doctor show.
Oh my God, I hate you guys so much.
So
our new character, Patrick, old timey cockroach.
Old tiny cockroach.
Listen, I've seen a lot of things. They said we're gonna go to Pittsburgh, and I'm like, Pittsburgh in the spring? I'm not entirely sure. That's not really my scene. Right?
Do you know I only got scale plus 10 for this?
I mean, I'm more of a bat guano guy, but Pittsburgh, I mean, it's a lot of rivers. I'll be honest with you. You see how many bridges are out there? Listen, if we end up doing Striking Distance, Gina, remind me of Cockroach character, because he's going to come back all the time in Striking Distance.
Easily for Striking Distance. Question.
Here's the thing, Wynter. If they didn't want him to make waves, they shouldn't have put him in the water. I didn't write that. But I feel like my soul did, because I write shit like that all the goddamn time, but I never wrote, if you didn't want him to make waves, you shouldn't have put him in the water.
And we wonder why it wasn't number one at the box office.
It wasn't for a lack of trying. You know, I was there first weekend, Wynter.
And Bruce Willis thanks you for that.
He should, absolutely. Or maybe his digital visage that he sold to people to use in films will thank me. All right, listen. Yeah, you know.
Gina didn't like that at all. She did not like that one bit.
No, I didn't. I do not approve of any sort of deep fake technology.
No.
God is going to punish us for that.
No. Here's how I treat Gina. You know how the Waffle Houses close when there's a hurricane and you know it's bad? That's when Gina has a take on something and it is not good. That's why I was like, we're push that clock a little bit further towards me. Thank you.
Okay, so E.G. Marshall appears in this in a full Larry Fine haircut. This is hard to carry off. I think he's supposed to look the hair that I have, but
I think he's supposed to look like, just eccentric millionaire kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And it's kind of weird, Gina, because this isn't the first eccentric millionaire locked up in a room movie we've covered. Because again, on Patreon, we talked about, for reasons I can't remember, Diamonds Are Forever, which also features a millionaire locked up in a hotel room, this time in Vegas. So I'm not sure why we keep coming back to this, or it was just an obsession at the time. Everyone had heard about Howard Hughes, and they're like, he's got whole jars of pee and nails, which begs a question I'm going to ask each of you. If you're going to hole yourself up in a fabulous penthouse, what are you going to collect of your own body in those jars, Wynter?
Wow. I didn't know that you were going to say my own body, because I had an answer for you.
Them's the rules. Howard Hughes came up with it. Blame him.
I think I'll tell you what I'll collect easily. Toenails for sure. I mean, why not?
By volume.
By volume.
Right.
And I'd separate them. Big toe, pinky, middle toe, a jar per each. A mason
would they
jar,
be ascending, descending jars, so that the biggest jar would be the big toes?
Yeah. Why not?
Sure.
And then I think the other thing, just to be extra gross, because why not? I would probably say like a toenail or toe hair.
Oh,
so toe hairs.
Sure.
Toe hairs.
Yeah.
One thing that kind of I think I got even more obsessive about my vanity through COVID. But one thing I just stopped caring about was shaving my toes. Sure. So I would just start doing that, locked in my expensive master bedroom, and just put all my toe hairs in its own jar and see what would happen.
See, I bet you Manscaped is really pissed that they didn't pick us up for that deal, Gina, because this was a perfect transition to a Manscaped ad, but they'll never get the benefit of that because we're not mentioning them in what discount code we have.
I mean, so, I think we just need to find there's a problem now. You have two female guests on this episode that we're just not talking about shaving our balls enough, which is apparently what they really heavily focus on, is because if a woman
need to diversify their market share.
Right. Yes. If a woman uses a razor meant for a man, she'll just collapse and die immediately.
Well, Gina is the razor pink. That's how we know it's for us.
Otherwise, you might be contaminated by the pure testosterone coming off that blue razor.
We wouldn't want that.
No, we would not want that. Gina, what are you collecting in your jars?
You know what? Honestly, I think that, if I was going to be holed up in a mansion long term and it was just me, I would probably shave my head and then use the hair to turn into a series of smaller wigs that I could use to make dried apple witch dolls.
Amazing.
We haven't really returned to Apple Witch dolls in quite a while.
It's a lost art. It's a lost art.
Friday the 13th.
I don't think children do dried apple witches anymore.
No.
We need to represent our witch communities the way they were
Googled
meant to
this
be.
and what the hell?
It was a thing. You would bring in, and just like we would also used to make back when they used to put pantyhose in plastic eggs. We would make crafts out of the eggs. Like, you would have to collect them and bring those in for school projects.
That we deserve to die in a fiery death. We filled the world with plastic eggs for pantyhose, Gina.
I don't know who thought that let's put them in eggs. Let's make them like like they're little like fetuses that you put on your legs to make them,
exactly
smooth and attractive.
That's exactly what they did. They're like, women lay eggs.
Women got them eggs.
That's literally what the marketing meeting was like. It was 2 minutes, shorter than this segment of this movie. And
the cockroach came to the head of the table and goes, "Gentlemen, I have a vision for you." And I
got one more. I got one word.
Main market is selling pantyhose.
Eggs.
Eggs.
He wrote EGG and then the final S. He makes a dollar sign.
Yes. And put his pen down and skittered off into the executive lunchroom.
I expect garbage in my office in an hour. Oh God.
Oh my God.
Just a 3 toilet water luncheon afterwards.
Exactly. Oh my God.
Oh wow, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, Creepshow. So E.G. Marshall is resplendent in I guess like a standard issue sitcom husband PJ set that he buttons all the way to the top. And then I was honestly triggered by the face mask because while I see face masks, I don't see them on screen very often unless it's one of the Bold One's new doctors. But also
Tuesdays on NBC.
But to add to this very cash outfit, he's wearing super stiff black loafers. And that's a combo that like
Alec Baldwin. Can I not mention Alec Baldwin on the show?
No, you can. You can. Once upon a time, I used to really enjoy writing for Match Game. Yeah. Because we would get to write intros for Match Game and star intros for Match Game every year. And it was fun because you could Match Game was you could make fun of people. So you could actually write like stinging on the edge of it jokes. Right. And it was very fun until it really wasn't. And it probably shouldn't have been, but oh well, what are you going to do? It was Match Game. And I miss it only for that and that alone. So he kills a bug right away. As soon as the screen comes on, he's killing a bug, which is, good news because you're never going to see another one again. And then he turns on a very uninteresting big band tune, one of many. No song that he plays I can recognize. And then you see that his apartment is resplendent with very small, and I'm using that term inside of dick fingers, computers. They're giant fucking computers with huge buttons that don't do anything but just light up. It's great.
His money. He's just counting his money.
Yes.
That's what we don't know what the date is coming on. Do we? I forget.
There does not seem to be a date, but it does seem to be quote unquote the future. And he has like a big magnifying glass over a printout of his stock options. And we do learn that he is an investor in Disney. So he's got to be great. I probably should not make that joke.
He is so ridiculous. It's one of the more ridiculous Stephen King born characters.
Yes,
is Upson Pratt. My favorite is his white gloves.
They seem to have white gloves on top of white gloves. Part of it feels very taco putting on the Ritz, especially when you pair it with pajamas and black loafers. It's a real look. And apparently Pratt owns this building, but he also complains about how much rent he's paying, which he would be able to write off because he owns the fucking building.
Are you paying yourself rent?
I think he is, because it would be a gigantic tax dodge. I have a business inside my home. It's a legitimate business where I do business, and I get a certain portion of the amount that I pay for this office space off of my taxes because it is a business expense. So I'm assuming, but I don't know why he would complain about the exorbitant rate of $3,200 that he's paying for rent, but he's paying him fucking self. So what are you complaining about, you old goof?
But to his point,
yeah,
we never got to see how big this apartment was, and it didn't look that big.
No, it looks very, very tiny, but how much space do you need to just wander around, complain about all the bugs that you see, and have one room as your backup? There's no way bugs can get in here room. I guess that's his bedroom. I guess
your personal bug panic room.
Yeah, that was the demo version of Personal Jesus that Depeche Mode did not go with, where I think we all benefited from that.
Wait. I didn't want to. I don't want you to.
You don't want me
please,
singing.
Yes, I do. I'm sorry. I just literally.
Lou Rawls is as good as it's going to get.
No, I was going to say we didn't talk about his breakfast of mush or his dinner.
Yes.
His Soylent-esque.
Right. We need to talk about this because I think it is the most interesting detail because it's so stark that we don't have any art to discuss. Decoration has kind of gone out the window. It's interesting that his tanks of oxygen are backlit pink. Like, I guess that's nice. Like, someone put some thought into that.
Right.
But this is the one huge detail in this that I really wanted to discuss because not much else happens. He's making a mush out of bran flakes for dinner.
Yeah, he's just constantly shitting. Just always.
Yes.
He is. Why are there so many cockroaches there? Because God knows what he is shitting. He's doing a colon broom constantly. What is the medium by which he is breaking down that? Like, he can't handle bran flakes. He's like, I need this in a softer format. So he's mixing it up in one of those Vitamix things. But what is the liquid component? Because is it water? Is it milk? Is it Ovaltine? We never find out. It could be champagne for all we know.
I just assumed it was something. It was kind of a callback to just an Ebenezer Scrooge thing where he has all this money and just does nothing with it except try to make more money.
Well, bits of cheese give you crazy dreams about ghosts coming back to tell you about your failings of your youth. So yeah, he's making a mush. He's absolutely making a mush.
Well, here's the thing. They always say to you, like when you read the Zuckerberg books, the Bezos books, the Steve Jobs books, that in order for them to operate at their most optimum brain usage, nothing can be all crazy, right? Like their houses have to look like Kim and Kanye's. They have to have a singular outfit,
sure,
like a mausoleum. Their houses have to look like a mausoleum. They have to dress like in a very specific outfit. They don't want too many options, which I just find absolutely batshit. Yeah. Like if your brain can't turn off for 2 seconds to decide to look slightly different than yesterday, then grow up. You know what I mean? And so I'm just saying, really, the brand with the maybe alkaline water and nothing else is the most. I feel like they just wanted to find the most unappealing, most non-appetizing thing because he just runs on vengeance.
Right. Yes. He just loves grinding people and their bones and their dreams into the ground, and he just mixes it up with those bran flakes.
Right.
It's like,
exactly. Yes.
I can't wait to get on the toilet bowl tonight. It's gonna be great.
Just shitting out the
shits were timed.
I was gonna say you shitting out the hopes and dreams of my enemies.
Was I the only one who was picking up Brenda Vaccaro vibes from the widow of the man that apparently he drove to suicide and he's thrilled about?
Yes. Who do we know whose voice that was?
I could look it up, but the voice
Anne
element
Muffley.
of this is slightly nebulous. Creepshow.
Her name is
cast.
Anne Muffley.
Anne Muffley. What a name.
Who doesn't have a Wikipedia entry. And maybe if I donate $2, maybe somebody will. They keep asking.
The $2 is really going to push it over the ledge.
Yes. We can finally get that Anne Muffley info. We're so
we can get deep into Muffley. Finally.
Yeah, finally.
She's like, why did you do? She sounds almost like the cockroach character. But his wife, who he has some sort of, they hit each other with newspapers existence. And she's like, you've ruined my life. I hope you get cancer in the worst way, which guess what, people? Cancer sucks no matter where you get it.
Right.
And he's like thrilled. He's got that Happy New Year to everyone, even the haters and losers vibe going on.
Oh yeah, totally.
He totally does.
Oh man.
Oh God, he does.
The whole time you're kind of hoping, like, I want this guy to get ate by bugs. I want him to die by bugs. And slowly but surely, the room begins to fill with bugs, and he can't get anybody to help him. He gets a call from the building manager who's in Orlando, and I'm like, I wasted my Orlando bug story on a different movie, Gina. This was the moment I really could have let that one go. But no.
No.
Long story short, this hotel I was at in Orlando, Wynter did not believe me when my food instantly was covered with ants. And I would call and I'm like, please help me with the ants. And they would go, are you sure it's ants? Like, I know what ants are. And they kept saying it like, I don't know. People see bugs here all the time. And it turns out they're just like coming down from
gaslighting you.
They were
about
gaslighting
bugs?
ants. Yes.
And by the way, ants in Florida are like 10 times the size they are in California. Another reason why we need to stay out of Florida.
Listen, Florida is one of those places that is trying to tell everyone who is there, get out. They are in the Amityville horror, and it's just very lovely to look at and super green. But the entire place is haunted and like, get the fuck out. And people are like, I just want to retire here. No, leave. And you know what? No. They're all going to end up having to go. So what are we going to do? Anyways, not to bring things down. Yeah, the whole place keeps getting filled up with bugs. He has an interaction with the superintendent, I guess, which immediately goes racist, like from the word get go. Like he can't wait to make it racial. It's
like it was on his personal schedule or something. You know, I mean, make racist remark to service person 8:15 p.m. Damn it! I'm an hour
I would
past.
like to help me. Yeah, here's a person I need help from. Let's make this better. I'm going to make this super racist for no fucking reason. But it does bring up when he comes back and he's trying to get Pratt to like answer him and he doesn't. And he calls him a honky. And I just feel we need to bring that back. I think the world would be better if white people were called honky more often. It would just cut through the clutter.
You know, the first time I heard it, I'm gonna tell you guys my honky story to my
please. Yeah, let's settle in. This is why we're here.
I heard it from my parents, and there was only two. It honky and cracker. But when the fact that the superintendent says his name is Mr. White, which just makes it so funny to me.
Sure.
And that I feel like somebody was doing something there right? Like, I feel like the writers were doing something there by making the person he needs to help him get out of, the only person who could probably figure this out, he is a black man that he has to call Mr. White.
Yeah.
And I just, the actor who plays him is one of my favorite parts, besides all the other supporting actors, the cockroaches, is one of my favorite parts of this segment.
You're back on, Gina.
Yeah, I just, you're back. Oh, Gina's back. I was waiting on you.
Sorry.
You missed the honk. You missed the honky story. There was no honky story. Tell you the honky story. No, I just was saying that Mr. White, is the superintendent who's ostensibly, Pratt needs his help. Pratt doesn't want to leave the house. He doesn't want to leave the apartment. And Mr. White is a black man whose help he needs. I always also wish kind of that it was Richard Pryor that was in this role. He would have killed this.
He would have nailed this 100%. It would have been great. Yeah. Because he did so well up against cranky racist white guys, as we all cast our mind back to the
Oh my God.
One of the most disturbing films that I probably watched 50 times on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't stop fucking playing that movie.
Yeah, I was reminded about it all over again with the teaser for A Christmas Story: Christmas. the sequel to A Christmas Story that's coming out.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Despite all of our best wishes, I will say I'm not against it, because one of my core memories about A Christmas Story is seeing it in a movie theater, and my littlest brother Sean, I think that was the first movie he ever saw in a movie theater, and he laughed the entire way. And he has one of those very infectious giggles, and so I think the theater was like kind of into the movie, but by the end, the entire audience was laughing their asses off, primarily because my brother was pushing them by laughing at every joke. You just had to find it funny at a certain point, regardless of how against the aesthetic you were. It just became a laugh fest because of him. And so yeah, why they didn't just say another Christmas Story, I will never fucking know.
I want to let you know that it was filmed in Hungary and Bulgaria.
Perfect. No notes. That's exactly where we need
just like the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And The Munsters was also filmed in some far-flung Eastern European locale. I'm
actually really thrilled that it takes place in a time-appropriate manner, because if I don't want to see, kids pissed off because they didn't get a PS5 and then there's a story here. Like, I love that it's going to be in the 70s.
Yes, it's an opportunity for it to be as foreign to audiences as it was to me as a kid in 82.
Right,
very idea of tuning into Little Orphan Annie, which sounded barbaric to me. But there you go. So what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, Creepshow. So I guess the only thing really left to talk about, because I mean we can talk about like bugs bursting out of this guy, but it's you know what it is. It's bugs bursting out of this guy.
Right.
And you want it to happen because he's a real asshole and he's asking for it. And that's the thing that I love about the EC vibe of this, that King leans into and that Romero leans into, is that this guy deserves every action he takes. Tells you, I can't wait till bugs burst out of that guy's forehead. And then it fucking happens. They make you a promise and deliver on that promise.
Just turn into a bug pinata.
Yeah, bug pinata. But first they give you the sink, which is just, everything about this movie is disgusting. And what's more disgusting than anything is I want to know what, because I'm a masochist. I want to know what that place looked like at the end of the night. What was that like? Just the fucking filth, man. This is to end on a note like this, to end a film that was already just like metastasized. Like we're I know you all have talked about every single story in Creepshow, but it rises. That's what I feel. It crescendos, in my opinion. You know, you start out with like the Father's Day, and that kind of is like a bang. And then it lulls you with the Crade and the couple, and Leslie Nielsen throws you off guard. And then you get to this, you don't even know I imagine audiences had no idea what was even going to happen. Because it was a slow burn, which is what I like. It's short and sweet.
It's only the story it needs to tell. Mm-hmm. And by the time you're like, that's a lot of bugs, it's like, we got to shut off these lights and this man needs to lie down. And when the lights come on and all the bugs are gone, you're like, oh, where'd all them bugs go? And it turns out they all crawled inside that man very neatly. And they're like, we ate him out hollow. There's no bones left. It's just a sack of bugs.
Yeah.
And they're like, we have greener pastures, and they come out his fucking neck.
It's like an even grosser Oogie Boogie.
Yeah.
He has big Oogie Boogie vibes. That's absolutely what's happening here. I mean, we can play choose your own death venture, but none of us want to die by bugs. So I guess we're all shooting ourselves in our library because this guy bought out our airline company. I guess. I mean, is that really up for debate? There's no way I'm dying by bugs inside my body, Gina. No.
I mean, the best you can hope for is that maybe he just like died of a heart attack and had no idea what happened to him. But still, I don't want to be looking either down from heaven or up from hell and seeing that happening to my body.
No.
Imagine the defending your life courtroom that this guy is in, and he's not moving forward. He's absolutely going back down. And they're like, let's look at the way you died. And they review this segment of Creepshow. And he's like, you have to understand, I really don't like bugs. And like, we get it. We don't like bugs either, but they're a part of the universe. And they watch as bugs all dive into his body like it's a community pool. And then when the buzzer rings and it's time for Adult Swim, they're like, everybody out. And they burst out of his fucking forehead.
No, because God was like, pull the trigger. Sometimes they bring him in like the vice president and say, make the call.
Yeah.
He's like,
sometimes you fuck around so hard that you find out by bugs crawling out of your goddamn chest at a clip. Not taking it slow. They have places to be. It's rush hour. That's how hard they're coming out of him. They're cascading out of this motherfucker. He has Scanner's veins going on. That's what the traffic is like underneath the skin. It's a lot. It's a lot to fucking take.
It's the way Mr. White mocks him. Through the door, you know, bugs got your tongue. You know, everybody, it's like a stage play. I would go to Broadway and just watch this.
You'd come home with several presents if you were all in a Broadway theater and a bunch of bugs burst out.
No, I want a musical, so I want people dressed as cockroaches terrorizing him. I'm going to stay at Gina's house. I'm going to bring Gina with me.
Sure.
We're going to have a nice lunch beforehand, you know, taking the sights. She's going to see shit she's seen before. I will too. And then we'll go check out Creepshow. It creeps up on you. It's creeping up on you. I very much appreciate an 80s set. You know, in the early 80s, this is for all the young people. In the early 80s, they really tried to get us to understand that at one time, you weren't lucky enough to get a TV set in a 3-camera situation. You didn't have films with audio. You had to guess what people were doing and hope they acted their asses off while doing so. So they love a little stage play action. It reminds me of My Name is Alex, that very special episode where Alex doesn't die, his friend dies, and then I think Michael J. Fox gets nominated for an Emmy for this, and I think he won. So they love to just remind people through film or television, whatever medium. We used to have theater. we used to have acting. Actors acted, and that's the only way E.G. Marshall took this role.
Sure.
He was the only person in the film, technically, in the segment, technically, and he was the star of the show because I'm an actor.
Mm-hmm. No, I absolutely agree. I just want to say the what you're actually proposing with the cockroach musical has happened. It was called Joe's Apartment. And it was by MTV because they had one interstitial that had cockroaches dancing, and someone behind the scenes like, I can make.
We need 90 minutes.
Get Jerry
We
O'Connell
need 90 minutes of this.
No. I haven't watched it.
Van Toffler. That was Gina's version or voiceover of Van Toffler in the meeting. We need 90 minutes of this. Make it happen.
Make it happen. Get Paramount on the phone. They're going to release this.
Gina role-playing Van Toffler ordering Joe's Apartment, the feature, and the studio going, hooray! Yeah.
Yay! We're going to make $1 million. And it made $5 million. Made $5 million. Audiences were not into that. But I think that pretty much, puts a capper on Creepshow. Wynter, where can people hear and learn and grow with you online?
You can follow me at Twitter, even though I'm on a slight hiatus because it's just a cesspool lately. I'm in Gina's camp. Yes. For now, it's been like a week and I can't deal. But when I come back, I will be at Wynter, Wynter Mitchell. And I'm always there, and I'm with my friends, Patrick and Gina, whom I love so much. Thank you guys again for having me here. And then also Waiting to Exhale. We're coming up on our 100th episode. Guess who we're interviewing, you guys?
Ooh, I'm excited.
Bob Odenkirk.
That's awesome.
Tell him I love him.
That is cool.
I will. So we're excited about that.
Bob's great. He's fantastic, man.
He's great.
That is great. I'm so happy that you guys, I really wanted to make it out to all the things that you were doing here in LA, but I'm sure it's going to happen again because it's fantastic stuff. And I can't wait to hear that 100th episode. That's going to be great. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net. I recently started a newsletter, and that's Gina Watches Things at substack.com. And as Wynter mentioned, I am all too frequently on Twitter under Gina Does Things.
Yes, do it today, people. Check it out. You can find us on all the regular places, your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram. Our Patreon page has lots of cool stuff. This month, we talked about Black Roses for our listeners' choice, which is a truly individual motion picture that is Canadian to the core, no false metal. It is the best. People turn into skeletons in the middle of a concert. There's people have punch outs with speaker bugs. It's fucking crazy. And then, of course, we will be talking about Halloween Ends for our final Halloween commentary episode at the end of the month. And then what will happen in November, you'll find out when we do. But that just about does it. Josh Hollis does all of our artwork. Revenge Body does all of our songs, including our main theme and all of our remixes. And that just about does it. What is going to happen next time on Kill by Kill now that we're done with Creepshow? Well, we're going to talk about an oldie but a goodie, a little film by the name of Barbarian. That's right. we're going to delve into a new movie. Barbarian is what we'll be talking about next week here on Kill by Kill, and what will happen after that. Something also cool, I promise you. November, we're not falling off, baby. We're headed to the top of the charts yet again with the crazy talk and the weirdest movies we can fucking find. So until then, for myself, for Gina, for Wynter, the body count will continue. Bye-bye, everybody.